Hey everyone, I'm Connor Clements. I'm going to make a quick video, just a tutorial showing you how to connect a printer via IP address to your computer. I wanted to pick something that pretty much anyone could do, but most people don't, just so it's something that you can learn and follow along and hopefully is easy to follow. So we're going to go ahead and start off making one assumption. That assumption is you have the printer set up and it's on the network, it's got internet, and you're ready to connect it to your computer. So we'll start off here with something that is kind of important, and that is, what is your printer's IP address? And not all printers have a screen. My printer does not, and usually the printer will show on the screen what the IP address is. Uh, if it doesn't show what the IP address is, there are a myriad of ways to figure out what your printer's IP address is. Uh, like I said, my printer doesn't have a screen, and so I have kind of a universal way that I know of to find an IP address for something. And for those who don't know, an IP address is how routers and different network technology identifies certain devices. The name address is basically the thing that we would understand. It's the way, like, kind of like trying to find someone's house. You know where their address is, you follow the street, you get to their house. That's what an IP address is. It's the router itself routing you to the device's address. So we're going to start off here with a tool called Angry IP Scanner. So funny name, but this is just the um, the scanner that I know of. It's free and it's safe, and so it's one that I would recommend downloading. So I have Windows, so I can click here for the Windows installer, and it will download the Angry IP program. Either when it finishes downloading, you can click this, or you can go to the folder, and it will show you there, and you can click it there. Regardless, when you open it, we have it here, Angry IP Scanner 3.93, hooray! So we'll go next. This is just where you want it to save files. It really doesn't matter. You can save it anywhere. I'm going to just save on default. Another thing to look at is how much space you have available. Quick way to check it right there. You'll click install. This is real time, by the way. So that was it running and it finished. And so I'm going to tell it to run. So I'll click finish here. And I like to have a clean and tidy computer, so I'm going to minimize those for right now. So here it is, the Angry IP Scanner. First thing you'll see right up here is an IP range. This is going to tell Angry IP the range of addresses that you're looking for. You could think about it as like a zip code. I want to look for addresses in this zip code. Look at this range that you have, and look at the third decimal number. So there's 192, that's 1, 168, that's 2, and 4 is number 3. Whatever that number is, come over here to this second end of the range and just make that the same number. And what that's going to do is it's going to significantly diminish the amount of IP addresses that it's scanning. And that will help us to not have to scan through like 700 different things. So now that we've picked our range, we can go ahead and click Start. And this is going to look at every single address in this address range or zip code. And it's going to ping it, which is basically just saying, hey, are you there? And then if it's there, the device says, yes, I am. And then it gives it a name. And so you can see my computer is called Gaming PC. That's the host name. This very first one, that's my router. I know that because my router is an Eero router, EERO. And so it's also almost always going to be the very first IP address will be your router. And now the scanning is complete. It tells us how long it took and the average time for each host, which is cool for IT, but probably useless to everyone else. So now let's look down the list. You can see there's my robot vacuum, there's my TV. Here's what we're looking for. this is my Epson printer. And so now that I've seen that's the printer that I'm looking for, I can look over here to the side, and that is my IP address. So the best way to keep track of that, I think, is to use Notepad. You can just pull up Quick Note and type it in, 68.4.50. There's my IP address. And we'll set that aside for right now. And we're actually done with Angry IP Scanner. All I needed was to figure out the IP address of my printer. I now have the IP address of my printer, and it's time to get down to the meat. So we're going to click the Windows icon at the bottom, and then we'll click on Settings. And once we're in Settings, here, let me minimize that a little bit so you guys can see. Once we're here in Settings, on the left side, there's Bluetooth and Devices. We'll click on Bluetooth and Devices, and then there's Printers and Scanners. We'll click Printers and Scanners. My printer is already here, so I'm just going to actually remove it. Oh no, my printer is gone. If only I had a printer. So I'm going to go up here to Add Device. Now, sometimes you'll see here, my Epson printer shows up automatically, and that's good. I don't have to use the IP address that I download or that I found with IP Scanner. I can just click that, click Add Device, and move on. There are some reasons that you wouldn't do that, and there are some reasons that you wouldn't see the printer in this list. And if you do not see the printer in this list, we're going to click right here where it says Add a New Device Manually. When we click that, it's going to open this second window here, and there are several different options. We want the third one. I'm not going to explain the rest. You don't need them. We're going to add a printer using an IP address. And we'll click Next. So the device type, we're going to change this to TCP IP device. You don't need to know about that either. Just know that it's an IP device. IP stands for Internet Protocol. That's the address that we're trying to use here. So now it's asking you, what is your IP address? Well, it just so happens that I wrote it down, and it's right here. So I can copy that. You can do Control-C. You can do right-click and click Copy, or you can just write it down manually. And you'll notice it automatically fills in the port name for you, so you don't have to do anything there. I usually leave this one checked, query the printer to automatically select the driver. That just allows the Windows to look at the printer and say, oh, this is an Epson printer. It turns out I have a driver for that. If you don't have a driver for that, here, let me click Next first. So it did the query thing. You can see here it says, oh, this is an Epson printer. I have an Epson printer driver. Let me use that. If you haven't downloaded a driver, you will not see this. And what you would do in that case is you would go back to the internet here, and you would type the name of your printer, which I have forgotten. There it is. It is an Epson ET2400 series. So ET2400, that's a 32. 3400. There it is. Epson ET2400 driver download. When you click on that, it's usually one of the first few. It'll say something like the name of the printer and support. You might see the name of the printer and drivers or software or something like that here. We're going to click on it, and every website is different, but you'll usually have to tell it what operating system you have. Most people are on Windows 10, Windows 11. If you have a Mac, there's usually a different one for that as well. So then we would go here. There's the drivers. I would click download. I would run all that stuff. But I already have the driver downloaded to save some time, considering this was supposed to be 5 minutes. And then you can see here, there's my printer. I'll click next, use the driver that's currently downloaded, click next again. Here I can name the printer. If I wanted to call it Connor's Office Printer, or if I wanted to call it Epsonator 3000, I could put that in here as well. And this is just for me. It doesn't really matter what the printer name is. So I'm going to leave it what it is, and we'll click next. And my final option that it's asking me is, do you want to share this printer? So what Windows will do is it will save a printer as a shared printer. And then the next time someone goes to add a printer, it will actually show up here, which it might not have if it was your first time doing it, or if you're in an office setting where there are multiple people that have printers, it might not show up. But if there's one that you want other people to be able to access, or if you have multiple devices and you want to easily get to them, then you can tell it here that you want to share the printer. If you don't, which I don't really care, I'm going to put do not share this printer. And that just means that I'm the only one that has access to it. So I'll click next. I guess this is actually the final one, is do you want to set it as your default printer? If it's my only printer, yes, I would like it to be my default printer. The last thing that I'm going to do before I click finish is I'm going to print a test page. So this is how you know whether or not you did it right. When you click print a test page, it should send to your printer immediately. I'm not sure how good my mic is and whether or not you can hear that. But it is printing, and it has printed my test page. And that is how I know I did it right. So I can click close, I can click finish, and now if I were to, let's say I'll close this and then go back to printers, now it shows up here. And my printer is connected through IP, which is very stable and secure, and I don't have to worry about it dropping off anymore. And now we are done. Hopefully that made sense. Hopefully I didn't talk too much, and hopefully my son yelling in the background did not annoy any of you. Anyways, catch you all later. Bye-bye.